There are some people who are going to get mad at just the title of this. Sometimes you just gotta admit when somebody does something better. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, THECASUAL. And today we're talking about 7 times Japan took a Western fashion staple and made it better. Hopefully, you'll learn some other brands out of this. Anyway, let's get it. At number 7, we got sneakers. All right, so the West turned sneakers into a culture, bar none. We know that. But Japan made it into like a philosophy. Take Hender Scheme, for example. They stripped down sneakers of their hype-driven energy and rebuilt them as handcrafted luxury pieces, reimagining iconic silhouettes like the Air Force One or the Superstar entirely in untreated vegetable tan leather. These aren't made for flexing on release day, they're made to age with you, develop a patina, and become yours over time. It's fashion meets wabi-sabi. Or take Mizuno, for example, which stepped away from the flash of Nike or Adidas and leaned into sophisticated design and structure. Futuristic uppers, sculptural midsoles, often inspired by Japanese aesthetics. It's performance gear that feels elevated enough for a gallery install. So just from those examples alone, you can see that Japan didn't just join the sneaker race, they questioned the whole premise and just elevated to heights unknown. At number 6, we got military outerwear. There should be no contest for this. Like seriously, when it comes to military stuff, Japan just, they have it locked. I'm sorry to say that. Anything that is military, it's like the best place in the world to get it. We know military jackets and stuff like that were born out of necessity at the time, right? But Japan turned that into like devotion. Take the Real McCoys. The Real McCoys operates almost like a forensic archive. They rebuild A2s, MA1s, N1 deck jackets, not just to match vintage specs, but to exceed them. They'll custom mill fabrics that haven't been made in decades, recreate hardware, even replicate the smell of aged cotton twill. The smell of aged cotton twill. Even more so, Buzz Rickson's takes the same route with flight gear and Navy issue uniforms, including collaborations with films like The Wind Rises to emphasize cultural reverence. In a Western context, vintage military is about rugged aesthetics. In Japan, it's about historical authenticity, honoring the craftsmanship, not just the look. They're building garments that hold memory, history, and just reverence all the way around. Next up, we got graphic tees at number 5. Look, I hear you. In America, but in Japan, it became an ideological statement. They don't call Hiroshi Fujiwara the godfather of streetwear for no reason. He took everything that was happening in the West, the graphic tees, all that good stuff, the burgeoning streetwear movement, and he turned it into a culture, like a bona fide culture that you can look to and say, yeah, that is something completely different. But then you have Shinsuke Takizawa, who started as a graphic designer. You have Skate Thing, you have Verdi, you have all these individuals who made a name for themselves in the graphic design space, not just having a brand. These guys made a name because they were good graphic designers. That's how crazy it was during the time of the movement's growth. BAPE. I'm giving BAPE some flowers right now. BAPE shifted the landscape by turning the logo into the brand. It was streetwear's Warhol moment. The camo pattern, the ape head, the shark, all executed with hyper-controlled licensing and detail. You weren't just buying a tee, you were basically buying a membership. And you can say in the West we had that too, but the graphic tee in Japan became such a significant part of the language of street that it even influenced the West to do better. Next up at number 4, we have punk and grunge. Listen, we get it, all right? Punk, through and through, UK, made its way to the US, and yes, the culture, that's where the culture rests. That's where it started. But when it comes to the fashion, Japan was able to refine it into something that was translatable through garment. Take number 9. Early 2000s collections were love letters to Kurt Cobain. Oversized knits, safety pin blazers, asymmetric layering, grunge reinterpreted through obsession. Takahiro Miyashita didn't just reference Nirvana, he channeled it. Undercover, we all know, Jun Takahashi built punk into the design system, one where deconstruction became sculpture and rebellion had visual rhythm. You got pain, but you also got precision. And take Lad Musician, underappreciated, but certainly should be mentioned. It gave punk a softer edge, using clean lines and melodic palettes to speak more to inner turmoil than outward rebellion. Even though I know that there's a lot of classic punks out there that'll be like, yo, that's just like antithetical to what punk is. But just hear me out. When it comes to just relaying the message of punk through garment, Japan just has done a fantastic job, and some of the biggest names in the industry have lauded them for that as well. All right, so coming in at number 3, we have tailoring. Western tailoring was built for posture and power. Japan rebuilt it for movement and elegance. And that makes sense because Japan is a highly mobile society. So making something that is for movement is basically a necessity. Take for instance the brand Ring Jacket. Yes, that brand is called Ring Jacket, or just Ring. It combines Neapolitan ease with Tokyo clarity, lightweight canvassing, curved lapels, and a perfect balance between structure and wearability. They don't just make suits, they make garments that understand your rhythm. Or how about Kamoshita? It brings Ivy League and 60s jazz aesthetics into construction. There's always personality in the silhouette, it's never stiff, and always soulful. Or one of my favorites, Rainmaker Kyoto, which takes Japanese traditional aesthetic and applies both men's and women's wear to the build of suiting. It is an amazing array of things that come from Japan, and just the mind meld between tradition, wearability, and just function, and just acute tailoring that makes for one of the best places in the world to actually get something tailored. It's that good. And that's why it deserves a mention on this list, even though it's not necessarily a style or a particular piece. Coming in at number 2, we got workwear. This is something that you all know. Another one, right? American workwear was always built for survival, durability, all that. But Japanese workwear is also built for spirit. You take Or Slow, which recreates 50s military and work uniforms with modern balance, slimmer cuts, precise stitching, and intentional aging. Their one-wash approach means the garment already knows how it wants to live. Or maybe even fundamental. Yeah, in recent years, it has a lot to be desired, but it leans into Boro and Sashiko, a reminder that repair is not failure but evolution, celebrating the old and bringing it into the modern. In Japan, workwear is about connection to the past, to the present, and the craft itself, and definitely deserves one of those, you know what, Japan did make it just a little bit better than it was before. Because without Japan and Japan's affinity to workwear, we wouldn't have some of the dopest looks and brands ever. It just took from Japan. Anyway, I've been bloviating a little bit too much on that. Let's go ahead and go to number 1. This should be no surprise to anyone. Number 1 is denim. If fashion had scripture, Japanese denim would be the gospel of reconstruction. Take the legendary status of Momotaro, battle stripes that symbolize pride. You earned them with the wear. Their cotton is Zimbabwean. Their indigo deep enough to stain your soul. Or PBJ, the great PBJ, which specializes in slub, those wild, inconsistent textures created by slow weaving and irregular threads. Every pair is uniquely imperfect, on purpose. Or how about a brand that takes a unique angle from it? Kapital. It's denim's acid trip, basically. Bones, smileys, Americana filtered through a Japanese lens of maximalism and absurdism. It's chaos, but with discipline. And we cannot forget Studio de Artisan. Basically one of the coolest brands to ever exist. Still, to this day, a founding member of the Osaka 5, helped ignite the entire selvage revival. No Studio D, no Ironheart, no Samurai, no global raw denim wave. It's just, it's plain to see. So, the next time someone says, Japan just copied the West, which I'm sure some people will, it's easy to copy, bro. That's what they do. But always remember, in order to get better at something, just copy what you see right there, and then you add flourishes later. That's what makes Japanese fashion so special and why they do things so acutely and so well. I mean, the entire denim and Americana scene was birthed out of reproduction. That should tell you something about how Japan approaches these things. So it's not necessarily that they do it so much better, it's that they refined it and made it better. And then when you see what it's capable of, you're like, oh, that's more than what we thought it could be. And that's what makes Japanese adoption of different Western styles so special, because they just bring something to the table that sometimes is just unexpected. But I have a question. What Western piece do you think Japan did better or perfected? Drop it in the comments. Japan will never admit, no Japanese designer will ever admit they perfected a Western garment. That's one thing. So maybe don't take it that far, but what do you think, what Western piece did Japan make better in your eyes? Drop it in the comments, you know what to do. But be sure to like, sub, and turn on notifications. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international fashion, culture, and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. And I will see you guys in a minute.